for another episode of the Department Podcast. We're talking baseball today, so that's why Jess is not here, but Justin, Clark, and Joe are. And we'll start with things a little off the field. We're talking about the postseason bubble officially being approved by both sides, so that is going to be happening in just about a week or so, give or take. And then also, Rob Manfred wants the playoffs, the expanded format, to stay well into next season, so we all kind of saw that coming. And then we'll get into the MVP race, Cy Young race, and we'll talk about the final playoff push for a few significant teams. Guys, what's going on?
Well, I'm happy to be here. As I was just saying to you guys, there's been a lot of sports going on, so it's easy to forget. But we're coming into a pennant race in Major League Baseball. So
that is true.
Like when you have all four sports guns ablazing at the same time, it's very fun.
All three sports, because hockey's not a sport.
But even then, though, hockey's gearing up for the Stanley Cup Finals, so it's going to get some attention.
And if you just go on the street with a microphone, put a camera in front of them, and say who's going to be playing in the Stanley Cup Finals, zero.
Well, we got teams with we got two cities with such deep hockey history, like Dallas and Tampa Bay in it. It's must-watch television.
Oh my God! At least it's not rigged.
But it's kind of funny though, where MLB for the longest time they were the only dog in town, right? Like they're the one people cared about. Then AHL started, then the NBA started, and now the NFL's here. But like, it's funny how you have the NHL getting ready for the playoffs, or getting ready for the Stanley Cup. The NBA, in their conference finals. The NFL is just starting, but they're still king regardless. So MLB is really taking a back burn, like put on the back burner, especially with the season ending in about a week's time. So they're really, they're flying under the radar.
They're really being hurt by the fact that the NBA playoffs are going on at the same time. I mean, that's really killing them because they so benefit from this time having the primary airtime 4 nights out of the 7 during the week. Even though it's the early weeks of the NFL, but right now, every other day you're having NBA playoffs, and before it was every night. So at this point, the MLB really does not have a single night where they can be like number one.
And on most nights too, whenever the NBA playoffs are on, the NFL's off. So that's why people are kind of not really tuning into baseball as much.
Exactly.
But something with baseball that we talked about earlier, during the season and earlier podcasts was they need to have a bubble. They should have bubbled to begin with, but now they are going with the plan of bubbling in a few cities for the postseason. It's needed.
It's about time.
But the interesting part is that the NL is going to 2 AL cities, and then the AL is going to 2 NL cities, which is the odd part, but whatever.
You can't give anyone home field advantage.
Yeah, that's...
I guess, true. I respect that. No, but this should have been done months ago. But I'm glad it's finally getting implemented now. Better late than never. It's exciting. It's exciting. Playoff time's coming right around the corner. A couple of your teams are in the race right now to get a playoff spot. Some are securing playoff spots.
Now, the thing that I was thinking about, too, because, Joe, I saw you tack it on the rundown. This Mariners-Padres series had to be moved because of air quality. Because of the ongoing wildfires.
That scares me because you're having the playoffs in these places where the air quality is subpar.
Yeah, exactly.
So better hope they get it under control.
Well, that's the thing. We saw that the bubble was approved, but could we see potentially 2 cities also be moved to a different bubble location?
It's a possibility.
It's possible. They're playing games in California right now. So Seattle is really the biggest place being affected by it. If they're able to get it under control, which I think they will in the next 10 to 14 days.
I hope they do. Just for not even just baseball's sake, just life.
It's life, yeah.
But here, what's going to happen is they're going to make the evaluation, but I don't think, even if it is marginally above the standard for air quality, they're going to play the game. I don't think Manfred will have the stones to move at last minute or to call the game off or to do something like that. I think we could see a dangerous situation if things don't get better.
And what we saw with Bobby Manfred over here in the earlier season, 2 teams get completely wiped out with Corona, and he's like, all right, we're just sequestering those 2 teams. Keep playing, guys.
It's the show must go on mentality that's going to be the downfall of Bob Manfred.
Yeah, but my question is, what if a team that's in the playoffs, we're currently in the playoffs, gets Rona. What are we going to do?
I
You're
think
just going to keep postponing games?
that's why they're going to bubble.
Yeah.
True.
To try to control it as much as possible.
But I think you would just have to keep going. At that point, you really have no choice.
Forfeit the games?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to forfeit the games.
But we've seen where the past, it's been 19 days since the last positive test for any MLB team, so it's been kept well under control. And I'm quite frankly surprised they made it this far without a significant stoppage.
I mean, it's very impressive that it's been weeks, maybe even over a month since.
Time,
there really was a team outbreak. I think it was the Mets were the last team, or the A's maybe have had one case after that, but it was very few and far between. So I think the Indians situation with Clevenger and Plesac really, really scared some guys straight. I think that's very possible.
Yeah, and I guess, even with the Mariners and Cardinals, because not the Mariners, the Marlins, they've recovered and they're a playoff team, but the Cardinals really haven't been able to cover any ground.
No. It feels like the Cardinals. Well, the Cardinals' problem is that it happened a little too late. Like the Marlins happened right away.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals have been battling against not only the other team, but against time, and then against themselves, because there's only these guys are playing 50 games in 42 days or something crazy like that they're stretching the limits of what professional athletes can do right now.
Now, looking at the schedule for the bubble, because the dates for when the games are going to be played was released, right? Great that they're bubbling, but Manfred's almost taking it a step too far where, yes, they're in the same location and they don't have to travel, but teams should still get rest days in between games. Right now, it doesn't look like there'd be really any rest days, and that can really, not just hitters who need, off time here and there, but pitchers. This is going to decimate arms. You're going to see teams with playoff rosters take the bare minimum of position players, 9 fielders, an extra outfielder, an extra infielder, a catcher, and then the rest pitchers just out of necessity. What the hell are they? Here's the thing. The MLB is bubbling. And they're playing in Texas and Southern California. What does it matter if they go play into November? Because right now it's scheduled to end. Game 7 of the World Series would be October 28th. What does it matter if you go to November 5th if you added an off day here or there?
The fact that they have played in November before, that's uncharted territory
for other circumstances.
The Cubs and the Indians went pretty deep into November, 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
This really hurts because first of all, and of course, a little bias, but it affects my team. You guys don't have to worry about it. You guys can be like, oh, playoff rules. It doesn't matter to the Orioles.
Nope.
Number one is you can't implement these rules and these strategies after the trade deadline, because teams are like, okay, since we have a day off, we only need 3 starters and maybe a 4th to spot start. Now you don't give any days off. You need 4 starters to all pitch in a 7-game series, even a 5-game series, and that is incredibly dangerous because you would have made a trade. Most of these teams, the Rays, the Yankees specifically, maybe
would have added pitchers.
Would have added
for sure,
absolutely.
And even if it was like a lockdown pitcher, the 5/long swingman type of role who could come out of the pen for 4 innings or start and give you 6.
Something they're trying to kill the players from the inside. It's not going to work. You're going to see a influx of injuries, and
we already have.
Yeah, you're right. You have injuries, stiffness, soreness. You're going to see just more than we're seeing now, which is just bad for the league in general. It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
And it's not like you're going to get a gift of a rain delay because it doesn't rain where there's games.
Because Texas is domed, and it just doesn't rain in Southern California. So
exactly. This is horrifying, and also
it's a quintessential Manfred move. 2 steps forward in the right direction, and then holy shit, 3 steps back. What the hell are you doing,
Justin?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. As a valued baseball fan,
lay it on me.
Valued.
Would you rather see 3 games in a 7-game series of, say, Justin Verlander against Shane Bieber? Or would you rather see Adam Savali against Jose Urquidy in Game 4.
Yeah. Option 2
You're
sucks.
getting bad pitching matchups.
But also, here's the thing too: if the point of speeding the game up is less pitching changes, right? If you're playing 7 games back to back to back to back to back, you're gonna see your managers pull their pitchers sooner to save their arms to almost get them rest in game and get them ready sooner. So you'll have more pitching changes, more pitchers being used, and at that point, you're at square one. So it almost negates the 3-pitcher minimum, the 3-batter minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see bad matchups. Game 4 of these series. It's a given, and it's going to be bad for the sport because who wants to watch number 4 starters duke it out?
So that's the bubble. I don't know how well it'll work out. In theory, it's a good idea. The timing of it doesn't make sense, but Bobby's got a plan. Bobby Baseball's got a plan, basically.
It's such a disaster. Excuse me,
It sums up the baseball season. It's half-assed and thrown together on the fly, without really thinking of any repercussions.
Yeah. No, it's going to be either one of the best things they've ever done for the sport or one of the crappiest things, whatever. Ugh.
But speaking of the playoffs, Manfred, in an interview somewhere, he's quoted saying he hopes that the expanded playoffs comes back into 2021 and into the future. We kind of all assumed that with all the weird shit that they're trying this year, they would try to have it stick and keep it, right? The DH, the pitcher minimum, now the playoffs. They were going to try to weasel it in long term. There's too many teams to the playoffs. Does it keep it interesting down the stretch? Yes. But in a 162-game season, should 16 teams make the playoffs?
No. I can't complain because my team is usually on the lower half of the spectrum. So if somehow the Mets can squeeze in a year, I'm cool with that. But if I'm like a top-tier team, I would hate this so much because there's always the possibility that you can lose to one of these teams that sneak in because you never know what happens in this sport. So overall, though, unbiased opinion, it shouldn't be like this from now on. It should just stop with this season and get rid of it. But yeah,
in theory, I like adding more teams to the playoffs. But what it does do is it lets you just take regular seasons because the regular season
doesn't
matter that much anymore unless you're it's the difference between playing, a number 7 seed or a number 6 seed. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Like the NBA, the regular season ratings are so down because they don't matter. And the MLB season, it's already hard to get people to care about 162 games, but then when you put less emphasis on them.
But figure in a normal season then, the Dodgers wouldn't have to try. The Yankees really wouldn't have to try. If things were back to 2017, the Astros wouldn't even have to try. You would have significant teams literally just coasting through, just being, all right, well, we have, potentially a second team or a third team under us for some wiggle room to get in regardless. It's almost too much of a cushion then.
Almost.
Justin.
Joseph.
Do you think the Phillies are a good team?
On paper, they're an average team.
Do you think the San Francisco Giants are a good team?
No, they're on the ascent of a dynasty and ready to rebuild.
Do you think the Cincinnati Reds are a good team?
Average.
Do you think the Miami Marlins are a good team?
No, not at all. And they're all in the playoff hunt.
There you go.
They're all in. They all would be in the playoffs. They all in the playoffs.
Well, you name the AL with at least somewhat. I mean, the NL with some respectable teams, but in the AL, you got the Mariners, the Orioles, the Tigers. The teams who are really still rebuilding, competitive for a playoff spot.
But that's a little overblown because the law of averages have really balanced everything out, and there's 8 deserving teams in the American League, and those 8 teams are all going to make the playoffs. The Mariners are done, the Orioles cooked, and the Tigers done, and then the rest of the teams disaster.
Yeah,
disaster.
Not wrong at all.
So they shouldn't bring the playoffs back. They're going to push for it. It's all a money thing because they could drive up the TV deals with Fox and TBS and whoever broadcasts the games. It's all a money game, but I don't know how much the players would be into it then.
I mean, it will give a lot of life to a lot more teams. And it's going to really allow the way you build teams to be a little different. Like, I think teams are going to be built to try to win a 3-game series rather than a 7-game series. And that means, like, you're going to see a lot of just big three starting pitching rotations sort of thing.
Yeah.
It could be fun. Like, it could be nice. But the problem is that, like, instead of giving the division winners, like, the first don't have to play the wild card game, you're making them have to play a 3-game series. And it's so risky.
Very, very.
So speaking of teams then who've clinched the playoffs, you got the White Sox, the Dodgers, the Rays, all have clinched. They're going to the postseason. Dodgers, not a surprise. Rays, not a surprise. White Sox, they're living up to the hype.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing going into the season with the White Sox is that it was really hard to see how this was all going to work, how this was all going to fit. It was a lot of, like, fringe parts. It's a lot of, like, we've seen it before, like, but never all at the same time.
And, like, if the prospects pan out type of deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything had to go right for this White Sox team to win a lot of ball games.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Edwin Encarnacion, that signing, even Yohan Moncada, who took a step back, it was like, you don't even need these two guys. Because
that's the thing. Moncada doesn't have to be the superstar that they traded for in the Chris Sale package. He can be a supporting cast, and they're just as good when you have Robert and Eloy Jimenez, who are literally superstar hitters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what did surprise me about this team is the pitching. I didn't think I thought, yeah, they'd put runs on the board. And I don't think anyone expected, like, them to be this good. Dallas Keuchel, hope he comes back, but he has been a revelation this year. The young Dylan Cease is outstanding. Is absolutely outstanding on the mound. Right now, he'd be their number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Assuming Keuchel doesn't get hurt. Like, this is an awesome team.
And not to mention, Giolito he's showing his frontline potential, but if they can have him in the middle of the order for the postseason, that's a good rotation then.
They're stacked going into the playoffs, especially how we were just talking about how the playoff format is and all that stuff. They have a good chance to go really far in these playoffs, and it's an exciting, a very exciting young team that we're seeing right here. I'm excited.
And this was a rebuild done right, too. They always tried to get the big fish of Machado, your Harpers, but they didn't. But they stayed the course, and they've invested in their own guys.
This team is so lucky they didn't get Manny Machado, because if they got Manny Machado, they would not have Grandal right now, who, granted, it's not having his best season.
But that was a hole they needed to fill.
The stability behind the plate to have Yasmani Grandal, other than James McCann, who's an offensive upgrade, is Grandal.
Well, you also have to think, too, Grandal, even though he's not really doing the numbers you would expect him to do offensively behind the plate, he's a veteran catcher, and that directly correlates to the success of the pitching staff then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And he is so good behind the plate. He's never getting enough credit because his name's not JT Realmuto. So everyone's going to think, that he's the best catcher in baseball. They have the best catcher in baseball. And what they also have right now is the two, and we haven't talked about them yet, but we have to, because you can't mention the White Sox without mentioning Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson.
Two guys who've been on this team for a while, and they haven't gotten their credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Nice to see it.
They've always shown these flashes. We always knew Jose Abreu could be this guy when they signed him out of Cuba. This is the best we've seen him ever.
And it's because he doesn't have to be the main offensive output.
Absolutely.
They can bat him 3, 4, or 5, and he can just put the ball in play and drive in runs.
And Tim Anderson is so special with the bat in his hands. He is like, I was high on him last year, won the batting title, and he somehow looks better at the plate. Like, you watch him hit, the guy just knows. The guy has a sense for the strike zone. He's the best I see in baseball at putting the bat on the ball. Oh, and here's the power. He's got 8 home runs, and he's slugging .582. Like, it's ridiculous.
And especially playing at a field like, I'm just going to call it U.S. Cellular because that's what I know it as. They have big power alleys, so if he can put one in the gap, he has the speed to turn a double into a triple almost.
For sure. Did any of us really see this coming?
No, only Jesse.
No.
Only Jesse did.
See, the White Sox.
I love that. That's what I love though about this. Like none of us saw this coming. They're a great young team. It's fun.
I would have put their ETA of a team as like next year or the following year.
Kind of like the Nuggets in a way.
Because
very, very similar.
And it all goes back to the fact of the pitching. Like they don't even have the guy that they was going to be the heir to the throne in Michael Kopech, who was actually the guy who was the main piece in the Chris Sale trade. Kopech was supposed to be the guy. Tommy John surgery. Haven't even heard from him.
And then he opted out just because he didn't want to get COVID, which is no fault of his own. So, he's almost been ready for 2 years, but he's been set back for reasons here or there. And if they get him next year and they can have him be a frontline ace throwing 100, that's a really, beefed up rotation then. But this team is very similar to like what the Cincinnati Reds tried to do, where have a young core but they didn't have to supplement it with veterans. They're better than what the Cincinnati Reds tried to do.
Very, yeah.
The Reds tried to supplement their rotation with Bauer, Sonny Gray. They have Castillo still, but then they didn't really call anyone up to play the field. The White Sox, they did a rebuild right. The days of, your Todd Frazier's, your David Robertsons, your Tommy Kahnle, and just, mediocrity are gone.
And that just starts the ownership and all the way down. It starts there, and then it just goes down. Once you have good ownership and good coaches, a good manager, then everything just starts to fall together. And when everything starts falling together, you get the chemistry. You build the chemistry as a team, and you can see what they're doing right now. I'm excited for this team.
You know what the best part of this team is too?
Tell me.
They're all cheap. No one other than Grandal and Abreu are getting paid big bucks long term. Everyone's under team control.
Good for them.
Think about where they're like in the spots that they're homegrown. So first base, shortstop, third base, and then they added Grandal as the catcher. Does this remind you of another Chicago team?
Well, they're also center field. They're also homegrown too.
Exactly. And in left with Eloy.
And when you want to build a team, you want to build it up the middle. Catcher, shortstop, center field.
Does this not? This team looks like a carbon copy of those 2015 Cubs.
Yeah. That
were right on the fringe. They had something special, and Dallas Keuchel is their John Lester. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I don't disagree at all.
The part that could really drive them either right to where those Cardinals went or away from it is, will they be able to sustain success long term and keep the core together? That was the issue the Cubs ran into, where they called up Schwarber, Baez, Addison Russell, Happ, Almora, and Bryant all at the same time, where their clocks all started. And they did a similar thing with, Tim Anderson was started 2 years ago. Moncada was started like a few years ago. Robert just started, Eloy started last year. So their window is 7 years before they have to pay anybody. And right now they're on the trajectory to get a title, I think. So are they the most dangerous team in the AL then? Because the Yankees have been white hot. The 5-20 record, whatever they dropped, when they hit their losing skid and Joe was ready to change the Athletics. Who's a more dangerous team than going into the AL, the Yankees or the White Sox?
Oof.
The answer is neither. The answer for who's the best team in the American League, Justin, I'm ashamed that you wouldn't even give this team the time of day. The Tampa Bay Rays are the best team in the American League. I still don't think they're getting the respect that they deserve, and I understand. I completely understand. Tampa Bay, boring, not a lot of big names, don't really hit a lot of home runs.
Come on, it's the city of champions. You got the GOAT playing football, you got your hockey team in the Stanley Cup, and you got the Rays. Come on, big market city.
Oh, great. Yeah, Tampa. Whoop-de-doo. But I don't know. I like Tampa. I like Tampa a lot. But they're never going to be able to compete in that division as long as the Yankees are dominant and doing their own thing. They're never going to be able to get past the Yankees in that way. But I do like Tampa a lot.
the one up they have on the Yankees, they won't be able to like if it's a slugfest and they have to out hit the Yankees, I don't think they can keep up. The thing what they have on the Yankees is bullpen pitching and consistency out of the bullpen.
Oh, absolutely. The Rays have the Yankees have maybe 3 guys they could pull out of the bullpen. The Rays have, oh my goodness.
Bro, Drake, Anderson.
Anderson, Thompson, Fairbanks, Luke, Castillo, Richards, Kurt. Like it's all just looking at right now.
It's
like,
all guys who can be swingmen, starters, openers. The Rays are built perfectly for the bubble.
Absolutely. Because they can give even offensively. Like it goes 11, 12 guys deep. Like the Rays don't run out the same lineup every single day. They rotate their entire outfield. Manuel Margot gets a lot of playing time off the bench. On the infield, Brosseau and Joey Wendell are not guys that are starting every day, but can come off the bench and do a lot of damage. Zunino comes back, and all of a sudden, this is another 1 through 9 sort of lineup that is honestly, I put a little more faith in than the White Sox because the contact ability of these Rays reminds me a lot of the Houston Astros team. Like these are guys that put the bat on the ball.
And just put it in play. If you put the ball in play, good productive things will happen.
That's all you have to do.
Time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it all starts with, I mean, Brandon Lau has got to be in this MVP conversation.
He's been a monster for him.
He's been an absolute monster.
So the MVP race in the AL, it's not let's just give it to Trout again, basically. You have some new faces. You have Luke Voit from the Yankees, Tim Anderson potentially, Lau, and even DJ LeMahieu, right?
I think there's a lot. Like I could see Shane Bieber actually getting some play. I can see Jose Abreu absolutely getting some play. Even Anthony Rendon, quietly, outstanding pickup for the Angels this year.
It's amazing how the Trout effect hit Rendon so quick. He goes out to LA, people just forget about him.
Absolutely. And I mean, how great is it? Anthony Rendon, who gets to bat in front of or behind, he goes from probably the best hitter in the National League. Now he goes to the best hitter of the American League, from Juan Soto to Mike Trout. I mean, that's what you want. Like protection-wise, he's blessed.
Yeah.
So, see, now people have made the argument for Luke Voit to win MVP, and it's strictly because of the home runs. Home runs should not translate to the MVP award. If that's the case, Mark McGwire should have won it when he, broke the record. Stanton was given it when he hit 59.
Of course.
MVP should not be the home run award, basically. If they give it to Voit, that's basically what this has turned into. Granted, though, Voit has really been the only consistent and a healthy Yankee. But at the same time, that shouldn't translate to MVP.
Yeah, the MVP should always be someone who's done the most for the team, production-wise, getting the hits, getting the clutch hits, getting whatever is needed to win that game in that particular time. I like Voit as a candidate. I really do, but I don't know if he's the one that deserves it all the way. I do like Voit, though. I really do, because he's obviously, like you said, Justin, he's the one who stayed healthy the most for the Yankees, even though the Yankees are basically almost back to full strength now. But I honestly, I'd go Shane Bieber. I like Shane Bieber a lot for MVP. I do.
And we haven't seen a pitcher win MVP because he's definitely in the Cy Young race and probably the front runner.
Probably.
We haven't seen a pitcher win MVP Cy Young really since Kershaw did it.
And that feels like forever ago.
Yeah, it does.
And maybe in a normal season, Shane Bieber wins, but you compare Mike Trout, who I guess is the front runner, to Tim Anderson. Trout's weighted runs created plus is only 2 points higher. He only has 0.1 higher WAR. And I mean, the difference for a fan, like some other fans, is that Tim Anderson's hitting 365 and his team is the number 1 seed in the American League. So that should be the tiebreaker because they're pretty much neck and neck on all of these analytical stats. And then you look at the fact that Tim Anderson has his team in first place, is playing shortstop for the best team in the American League.
Mm-hmm.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
Respect.
It should be what the player is doing, and how well does that contribute to the team's success. If you pull Anderson off the White Sox, are they, the best team in the AL almost? I don't think so then.
You don't know. You
don't know.
really don't know because he's clutch too. That's another thing. The guy
Very.
has always been a clutch performer.
So then, real quick before we wrap up, Cy Youngs, AL, NL, who you got? Where do you want to start? The NL?
The NL? The NL is the race. The NL is what I'm looking for. And a lot of it has to do with what happened last night because a certain pitcher in New York left for the game with a hamstring injury, and if he misses his last couple starts,
he's done.
That might take him out of consideration.
I honestly think it already took him out of consideration, if I'm being honest.
From his shelling of we're talking about Jacob deGrom.
We're talking about Jacob deGrom, of course. It hurts. That hurts. I think they really were going to try to give him the third one in a row. I really think they were. But I don't think they can. I really don't think it's possible just because of that injury, especially like Joe just said. If he misses a couple starts and it's behind the 8 ball now, it's just it's not deserved in a way.
And time's a ticking. There's only 9 days left in the season.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
So reality, he only has probably 2 starts left in him.
And honestly, at this point, is there any reason to start him? Is there really any reason to start?
That's the thing with the Mets. We didn't really touch on it, but they need to run the table. They have 11 games left. They're 500. They got to win 8 to have a shot at the postseason.
That's not going to happen, but that's okay. But another thing with the Mets we didn't talk about, they're under new ownership too, baby.
Yeah, Steve Cohen.
We're under new ownership.
He'll sign the big bucks. It'll be interesting to see how he approaches the offseason. If Brody's still here or not, we'll definitely talk about that in a off-season podcast.
I think Brody gets another shot. He gets one more.
Give him a year.
Give him a year. Yeah.
So back to the Cy Young, though.
I don't think DeGrom gets it, especially if he sits out the next couple starts.
I think for the NL, you really got to consider Trevor Bauer.
For sure. No, I think Bauer gets it no matter what. I think it's
Joe,
Bauer.
What do you got?
If I were a voter, I would still vote for DeGrom. He's been that good. But thinking of the voters, thinking about what the voters will likely do, I think that a lot of votes will be cast to Yu Darvish of the Chicago Cubs. I really think that if he has a couple strong outings, those numbers are going to be right what you want to see for a Cy Young. I mean, he has been another unworldly.
Dog.
Then on the flip side, AL.
It's Bieber's award.
It's James
It's Bieber's.
Even if Bieber goes out and gets shelled the next 2 outings, which I don't think he will, it's his award. He's locked it up from the beginning.
Bieber, and then maybe who's the person you can argue? Dylan Bundy? I think that's it. It's a joke.
Yeah, there's really no one in the AL, especially when Verlander went down. And Cole, he's had a few bad outings, so that kind of took him out of consideration.
Exactly. I mean, Bieber is, of course, benefiting from the fact that probably the 3 other best pitchers, Cole, Sale, and Verlander, are not factors, really.
Well, before we wrap up, about a week left in the season. World Series prediction, not winner. Who's your matchup?
So as a fan, White Sox Padres. I think that's what America wants to see.
That'd be such a fun watch.
But my honest prediction, I think we're going to get Tampa Bay against the Dodgers.
Jesus.
As a
give
fan,
me the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers still a lot.
It's hard not to. It's so hard not to.
Give me the Dodgers. No Yankee pick from you, huh?
No. I think it's going to be an uphill battle, and I think that if they do, I think they could beat the Rays, but if they end up facing the Twins or the White Sox, which it looks like they're going to, I don't think our pitching's going to be able to handle that.
Give me the Dodgers and give me Oakland.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, Joe, I'm going with the fans matchup. I think it's going to happen.
Think so?
San Diego, Chicago.
That we would be blessed if that happened.
We would.
Dude, imagine Tim Anderson and Fernando Tatis Jr. on national television for 7 games.
I would love to see.
That's a must see.
Oh, I would love to see Tatis raise.
That'd be one
trophy.
of the most. That'd be almost as much of an entertaining World Series as Cubs Indians.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably more. Just the players. It's
the players.
That would be it, man.
Yeah.
I would.
Cool.
Well, we'll talk about baseball next week, and by that time, I think we should really be looking at the postseason. We'll break down some matchups, and then coming out on Sunday, we'll have a wrestling recap, followed by on Monday with another week breakdown of Sunday football, and we're sticking to our schedule a little bit. So, Clark, hit us with an outro.
Hey guys, you know what's up. Thanks for listening, watching the show. We really appreciate you guys watching and following us and staying with us throughout this journey. Make sure to follow us and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the good stuff. Leave a comment. Tell us your favorite part of the show. Leave a review, Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at department_pod. Like Justin just said, stay tuned for all the content we have planned, and we'll see you in the next episode.